different about that. All right, come on, Mr. There we are. Hello and welcome everyone to show number 115 of This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lauren Gray with hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. With me is the ever-present, ever-wise Mr. Edward St. Ange from Flip2.
I thought you were going to go to Robert on that one.
Right?
And the rarely present, rarely wise Robert Cole.
Robert Cole, yes. And the rarely present, rarely wise Robert Cole with Wrong Cheetah. And gentlemen, thank you so very much. I know we were talking just before we jumped on about some other things, but we are supposedly going to be blessed with a guest co-host today, and I'm hoping that due to technical difficulties, I didn't deter him. I had some frustrations with our platform that we do our live show on. But his name is Mr. Rich Tuckwell with Avio. Is it Avio?
Oh, and Darlene Rondo is joining us today.
Hi,
Darlene. Hi,
Darlene. Hey, how are you? So yes, we're Rich is in Las Vegas right now for I for Travel. So he would be joining us at about 8:30 his local time. Should he figure out how to hit the link button that I sent him at the last minute? Because
should he have enough bandwidth?
True. Yes. Well, you know, actually, the resorts over there have been not bad, have they? I mean, have you ever had problems with bandwidth over there?
Well, I'm with Robert. I don't go on hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, neither do I. No.
Actually, now that I have my new Express VPN, I will. It's a pretty good little VPN. So
See, I told you ExpressVPN was really good.
Well, since we're waiting for Avio, we can talk about something I was excited to talk about this week.
Okay, go right ahead.
I just have to ask you, how are your college football teams doing? Because mine is doing great.
Is that why the hat? Is that why?
I forgot that I was wearing that.
I guess that if you're also a University of Miami student, you're probably pretty happy too.
There are 3 Florida football programs in the top 25, and FSU and Florida aren't in it. And that's a wonderful thing.
And look at how many. Look at how many Big 12 teams are in there. Quite a few.
But here's another interesting thing.
Texas Tech.
Only 3 SEC teams in the top 25.
Yeah.
But for the first time in a long time ever, there are 3 American Conference teams in the top 25.
That's good. Yeah,
it's a good year. It's a good year.
We want to keep Darlene happy and inspired while we're waiting for Rich to show up.
If we want to do some chewing gum that we can abandon, Robert, I was looking at an article from Hotel Online that was talking about like the top performing REITs and how they performed against the Dow Jones average. And so I was kind of just going through those REITs and looking at their portfolio, and it kind of led me to a counterpoint. We've been kind of dogging the risk of like the asset light brands and how they need to change. But I'll say this: if you look at the inventory of these REITs, Condor Hospitality Trust, Ashford, Southerly, Apple, Chatham, LaSalle, Hersha, RLJ, not RJL, Zania, Raymond, Diamond Rock, Pebblebrook, Summit, Host Hotels, Sunstone. If you look at the inventory of these REITs, the vast majority of the inventory are branded hotels.
Absolutely. And that is almost all they're doing. As mentioned when we were just chatting before, that the HSMAI Dallas chapter, and Darlene, you missed lunch yesterday, so she spoke the previous month, so maybe she's still basking in the glory of her presentation. Who knows?
Darlene has been more than generous in speaking at the Dallas community one a lot. She's been a regular feature for them, which has been great for her participation. That's for sure.
But Hank Wolpert spoke, and he is an old time hotelier, hospitality real estate counselor. So he does a lot of deals. Background with Sheraton, Richfield, has been all over the place, been there, done that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, certainly that is one of the requirements now. If you're in one of these, you have to have a brand, because it's a security blanket for these guys.
But let's talk about that. There are some that are bucking the trend in that list. So Southerly Hotels has some really interesting independent hotels. Actually, Southerly owns the one hotel, if you remember, a couple of times I've mentioned, I've now found a hotel that can show their portico on their website, and it's actually a selling point, which is the Hyde in Hollywood Beach. That is a Southerly hotel. LaSalle, unlike almost all of them, the majority of their inventory is independent.
Yeah.
So that, is pretty interesting. Ashford has a lot of independent in their portfolio, but then you look at Condor.
Well, are some of those under Curio and Autograph?
No. Like Ashford's got real, like One Ocean. Okay. They have a lot. Southerly, same thing. They're independents. They have the Whitehall. They have the Hyde Residences. LaSalle. It's interesting. They have a lot of independent business hotels.
Yeah.
So that seems to be their
location.
Shtick.
Yeah, location. Yes, central thing, and then you start looking at who the original developers were and what deals they're doing.
Exactly. So but the overarching trend, I would venture to say, between all of these REITs, 90% of the properties are branded.
Yeah.
Not as much big box as you would think, though. Like if you look at Condor, they by far seem to favor the mid-scale, like Courtyards and Staybridge, and going into that side of things. And man, they have a lot of them.
But the lower end, actually, AHOA, the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, you'll see a big change is they're going from the lower tier brands, kind of the Wyndham and Choice portfolio. They are moving much more radically into the upper scale brands, and that seems to be where all the activity is.
To see, because if you look at the big investment groups, they seem to be divesting from the luxury big box stuff and going into. So, look at Blackstone and how they've changed their spend.
Yeah, Lakenta.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I guess there's a buyer and a seller, and I guess sometimes they change positions in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think in many cases it's profit taking and things like that, because the industry is at a peak. And the interesting thing, I was talking to a guy that does a lot of title work for Walport on his deals, and I was saying, so who gets pinched? Because you basically have the owners looking for their margins, right? And especially if you're a REIT, right? Because you've got this portfolio, you've got to report back to Wall Street. You've got the brands, you've got the management companies, you've got intermediaries. You have lots of people sidled up to the trough. The one thing that he said was he saw the management companies getting squeezed out. He said once these hotel owners, and not necessarily the REITs, since they can't, but these groups, they say once you get 10 properties or something, they're just they're dropping out the independent management companies. They're doing it themselves because it's not that hard for them.
Well, and some of them, like Ashford, they have a management company. It's Remington.
Yeah. Separately, not really technically them, because as a REIT they can't, but yes. Yeah. So that would be breaking laws.
Okay.
But they do. But yes, they have partnerships, and a lot of them they do. They have deals with brands, right? They work more heavily with these brands versus those brands and that sort of thing. So yeah.
So if you look though, so let's talk about them getting squeezed. So some of two of the more popular brands have recently come out with a portfolio, or management companies have come out with a portfolio specific branding initiative. So you have Davidson, and I can't remember what they call theirs, but really hip, cool collection of hotels, and they're kind of branding it that way. So they picked up the Don Cesar. They have the Zephyr. They have the Fontaine, which are all part of that collection. And then Interstate just released their segue into basically creating a curio type collection of hotels, which they call Intrigue, which looks like it's kicking off with the Charles in Boston, the Irwin in Venice Beach, the Nomo Soho, and then the Marker in Dublin. So maybe what you're saying is true, that it is the management companies getting pinched right now, and looks like they're fighting back. And where are they going to compete against? It looks like they're going to compete against the recent entrants into soft brands.
Right. Yeah, and all that area, because it's relatively easy if you can get a portfolio of something to slap a name on it and then do it. The challenge is really going to be sustaining that and creating value that gives you decent margins, because again, if you're a management company and you're getting 3 to 5%, probably more often 3 than 5 these days, unless you're doing something really, really special. That's not a lot of money. Yes, it may be off of all the revenue for the hotels, but still, you don't have a huge amount of profit from those owners coming out of F&B and things like that. So, you're stacked up against a brand who's sucking down, 8 to 12%. In some cases, again, if you're a Hilton Garden Inn, it's getting close to 15%. You've got some challenges, and it's the same thing with the OTAs, where they're sitting there going, "Wait a second, they're getting, whatever, 12 to 20% or, plus sort of things." Yes, that margin advantage helps you go buy a lot more advertising and promotion and investment and that sort of thing. And it depends, but they don't have the same structures. That the ratios of their human capital are much higher than these OTAs, and the investment prospect and the growth prospects of just the profiles of their shares and their investors, it's the whole different thing. It's not tech. So
we need to welcome Mr. Stuart Butler. It's like a unicorn. It's like, look, it's Stuart. It has been well, but thank you for gracing us with your presence. I've been, just so you know, why I'm keep looking down, is I'm dialoguing with Rich. He's had every technical problem, worry, issue about trying to get on the show. He doesn't have his earbuds, and they won't load the plugin, and the browser doesn't open it. And anyway, so I keep dialoguing with him. I think he's actually joined live in the background. I'm trying to ask him to raise a hand speaker-wise so I can join that way.
I invited him to be a presenter.
Oh, good. So now he says he doesn't have earbuds, but we'll see what else.
I certainly hope Stuart won't be sharing a lot of codswallop with us, because
it kicked him out. Okay.
The fuel travel marketing podcast last week was
hopefully it was
had an expansive vocabulary. Let's just put it that way.
So the guys in my office, while I was out of town, they did some kind of quiz that told you your turn of the century name, but it taught them a lot of vocabulary that they weren't aware of. So things like codswallop and a lot of oldie words that we used to use back in the days in Blighty. So they decided to throw this on during the episode.
Vocabulary. I was actually talking to my head of marketing this morning, and a vocabulary word was used that we then had to go look up and make sure it was the correct usage. Do you know what you call someone who canoes?
I would have assumed
a canoeist.
It is a canoeist.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so the show's taking an odd turn.
Poppycock.
Poppycock. An odd turn for this show would being on point would be an odd.
That's right. That would be on point. Yeah. That would be a twist of fate for us on this one.
Well, I guess we can segue into one of the articles let's
segue into working.
Yeah, go to one of the articles while we're still trying to get Rich on here, so we'll see what happens.
Google has a data set. I think Ed may find this interesting, since it's he uses various tools to identify photos and things like that for what they're doing. And what Google has, let me see if I can get this posted here in the sidebar. It's hard to talk and post at the same time.
They're AI that can
the AVA data set, which
human actions.
Identifies human actions, which I think is which is really it's starting to get pretty amazing. On you have enough machine learning to go look at this stuff and go, oh, that looks familiar. I've seen that before. They must be whatever.
Here's the thing. So we have a lot of AI looking through the guest stories that get submitted to our hotels, and we only expose a little bit of it because
So you don't want to scare the hell out of people.
some is unreliable, and some is really scary what it can understand. So understanding topically what's going on has been getting better and better. So we use multiple services because we don't care who wins. We just want to have the best tagging for these guest stories because, we get a lot of them. So
you do not personally curate them. Okay.
It's funny. We have an internal Slack channel dedicated just to stories. And because of that, we've now started a blog, which will become a regular blog for us, which is our travel bucket list, because what it's done is it's given us all these places we want to go.
Yeah.
So one of the places I absolutely want to go is in Wheeling Park, West Virginia, Oglebay Resort, which has a zoo that they call the Good Zoo. And they have animal encounters that if you at all really like animals, you just badly want to do. So we get continuous guest stories of people like holding like baby animals like that are just super cute that you never get to see, and so that's
are
a popular
dangerous
one.
Animals? Or
no, it's like sloths and things like that. Red foxes and just like really cute animals, and so
are they all rescue type?
I don't know. I haven't really dug that deep into it. I mean, we work with the lodging side of it and partner with promoting the zoo for them, but we haven't done a huge amount into the zoo.
Just one word of caution. You always want to check where they're sourcing those animals, because all of a sudden, oh, really? They've been poaching them from where? Suddenly those stories can flip. So yeah.
True. But yeah, so talking about the AI though, like it is getting better. But we have like the AI so badly try to spot celebrities, and it's really funny. So that's one of the data feeds we have is if there's a celebrity, and a lot of times it's wrong and racist as heck. So we don't expose that. We keep it in the background until it fine tunes and gets better, but we do physically check it. And what's interesting is
showing it Lauren's picture keeps saying Brad Pitt. No, it's not Brad Pitt. It's close.
More like Paul Rowe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, but like Madame Tussauds is near some of the hotels, and so the wax figurines, it nails them a lot because we know Robin Williams is no longer with us, and yet we've gotten a lot of pictures of Robin Williams as of late. It picked up Jimmy Fallon, so we work with a hotel in Beverly Hills that houses the hosts of some of the award shows, and so Jimmy Fallon is really cool. He takes a lot of pictures with the people at the hotel and stuff, so we get a lot whenever he's in town. But yeah, it's so some of it's not perfect. But it is getting better. It can recognize wedding dresses. So now a lot of the wedding photos we get, it actually tags it wedding,
that's great.
Which is really interesting because if you think about how hard it is to do what it's doing, these are pixels. As far as technology is concerned, these are pixels. Yeah. And just the pure fact it can identify a human, I think, is amazing, let alone it can get the context of what's going on is insane to me.
Right. Yeah. No, Bob wrote a whole mess of details off to the side here. I was just trying to understand some of it on the artificial intelligence side of it. I think it was more of the technical component of what artificial intelligence uses. Yeah. Yeah.
Which actually, this is really cool if Rich comes on. Hey, I see Rich. Because their new booking platform, I think, is a interesting use of AI and how it optimizes the path. So did you explain to Rich he has to now...
No, he has to hit the blue button up top with the camera to turn his camera on, and the blue button up top with the microphone to turn the microphone. Yes!
We see you!
There we go.
Now, did you hit the microphone?
Did he hit the microphone?
Can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you as well! Oh my God, it works! Rich, I'm so sorry you had to hit 5,000 brick walls to get into this thing today.
We call that the Lauren Gray effect.
Yeah, the
That's
low
right.
rate
This is
It's the great,
20
we
years
call
in
it the great
technology.
gauntlet. Yes.
Yes,
horrendous.
it's a form of Darwinism that we use. If you can
Yes.
get through Lauren's convoluted technical difficulties,
Technology.
then you are technically smart enough to come on
Yeah,
the
you're
show.
qualifying with that.
Yeah. I mean, I launched a rocket last week, but today I can't even get into a web chat. It's
Today is a
horrendous.
greater achievement. Today is a greater achievement
Yeah.
than launching the rocket and re-landing it. Yes, it is. Rich, thank you for making it. For those who are in the
No
wings off
problem.
to the side, this is Rich Tugboat with Avio, who has been our guest host for this week, but it took this long to get him finally onto the show for the technology problems that we had. But Rich, please, thank you and welcome. Now that you're
No
here,
problem at all.
tell us
And Rich,
everything that we want to
We
know.
have good news and bad news. We generally give the first 30 minutes of the show to our guest host to talk about anything they want. So you have 9 minutes.
Okay, so I'm in Vegas.
No, you have all the
and
time.
I've lost all my money.
That's not why you go to Vegas.
No.
I'm in Vegas for REITs travel, to be fair. So I'm here for REITs travel, and it's been a hectic. I've been here for 9 days, which is for anybody that's ever been to
Been in
Vegas for 9
Vegas for
days.
It's 5 days too long.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's about 5. I would say it's about 9 days too long. Yeah, I love Vegas. I do enjoy Vegas. So I'm not gonna slate it too much, but it's been a long time. So and I'm here sort of I for Travel talking about obviously our new booking engine, which I heard you talking about when we came in, about the AI stuff, which is all. I mean, we've got 5 different events going on this week about the AI technology we've just launched. So that's great, and it's super exciting, and people are going, oh, this is very Big Brother, and I'm going, it's not really Big Brother, it's not. I don't know what you're doing on Facebook. I just know you're on Facebook. I don't know what you're watching. I just know you're watching something.
It's sort of little brother.
Yeah, it's
it's
brother.
creepy uncle. I mean, it's not Big Brother. It's
Yeah.
creepy uncle.
There you go.
That
AI
makes
is creepy
worse.
uncle.
Yeah.
Worse than Big
Wednesday
Brother.
from the Addams Family.
Yeah.
I'm Wednesday from the Addams Family. I'm lurking around a door. I may potentially be a threat, but I'm not at this precise moment in time. Wait until Google get hold of it, and then it'll be trouble. But yeah, no. So it's been super fun. It's obviously, as I heard you guys saying, it's the AI booking engine is hugely important, I think, for the industry and for us, because it's a massive leap forward. It's the first type of engine like this of its kind, and actually the beta tests we did were fantastically successful, and now we've launched to market. We can already see that the whole cognitive learning thing, the whole connected network, it's massive. I mean, it's a huge leap forward, both for consumer and business.
Functionally, what are you changing with the AI? So I've known about it. I know you guys are using it to optimize, pushing to the top what's working, what's not working. But functionally, what are you changing in the booking path with the
so
AI?
Functionally, it changes content. So what the AI does is it basically it takes in multiple different levels. So for instance, it's taking into account travel trends. It's taking into account what we already know from previous bookings, what we know from that previous hotel, what we know from the demographic. So I'm a German with a keyboard that's based in Canadian, booking to go to France on a Thursday. So the AI would basically take all of that into account and say, right, so what do we know about that niche and how they book and what they're looking for and how they stay and what's of interest to them. And it will then change the content, the actual physical journey of the booking engine to make it more appealing for you. And if you take that down to a smart rate matching perspective, okay, so I know that Lauren booked 5 hotel rooms last month within the network of hotels that are with us. He never paid more than $200 because he's cheap. And $200 cheap. Oof. Don't come and work for me.
And the properties were always located
5-star.
near the red light district of town.
Yes.
What interesting
Bizarrely.
discovery.
I call that travel preference. Travel preference.
And always require
So-
a double room.
So let me ask you. So you're talking about
Extra
changing
keys.
the content and everything. Are you finding that you're having to write different versions of the content for the hotel, or is the hotel naturally understanding some of this?
So the hotels are naturally understanding it, but it's worth pointing out that the
Great. Can I
hotels,
talk to some of those hotels?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what I would say is,
which hotel is that you found?
well, it's a small one on the side of a mountain.
Yes.
They don't really understand the internet, but they do understand people. Yeah, no, it's well, obviously going to prefix that with the fact that these are hotels that we've worked with for a very long time, that were part of the early adopters group. So they have probably been through our digital marketing program. They've probably listened to me, Frank, and 1,000 other people speak a million times on emotive marketing and why your content has to be so specifically written for each individual target market that you want to, because one-hit wonders do not work. And so they are probably more adopting to it. But with our onboarding process, we're actually writing multiple different levels of content for them, multiple different versions of their room rates, etc., their packages, their engagement, just to ensure that we're covering it off. Because you're right, I mean, that's where it falls down, is if you don't have the content written. And I'm now marketing Lauren as a German with a Canadian keyboard traveling to Boston, but actually I'm marketing him as he's just from London going to
well, actually, the trick
irrelevant.
with Lauren is if you can take point A and point B and introduce 700 tangents.
No,
there is
that's
that.
actually the perfect.
We have a few more slides.
We have done comprehensive multivariate testing on Lauren's booking process. All you need is a new piece of technology, shiny object in the picture.
Shiny object.
I've never seen that before. He will stay with you.
This hotel has a robot.
A Cortana.
Book now.
I
Take
just
my
used a
money.
torch
The Cortana
on the wall. I mean, it's like a little.
He's like a cat.
Yeah, it is. And just for the record, Rich did have to travel with me for a whole week, so he knows very well.
So he's aware.
He's aware. Anything shiny, and I'm following
it. Yeah. And that may be even when he's on presenting, to a room full of revenue managers. Video. Let me show you this new video. Not that I can comment, because I've shown that Chinese internet video to just about anybody that will sit still for the 6 minutes it takes to. Let me show you this video. No, my friend showed me it. It's really cool. I believe we may have been the same mentality.
So let's dig into the early trials of the switching to the AI booking experience. What kind of difference have you seen in conversions?
Well, actually, for our viewers, maybe we should just give a little background on your booking engine.
Oh yes, sorry.
Let's tell
everyone your company.
What it does, Is it a CRS for multiple properties or single? Just a little background.
So we do both. So a little bit of background. Here's the sales pitch. We would say that Avio is the most advanced booking engine now in the world, thanks to Allura. We are the highest converting in the market, without a shadow of a doubt, as proved by at least half a dozen sources and Google Analytics on a recent test. We convert on average between 6.8 to 9% of the booking funnel, which is significant for anybody that knows anything about booking engine conversion rates.
That would be significant.
That would be significant. We are three-tier. So we have our software side of our business, which is obviously Allura, Convert, our dynamic room booking substitution software. We have a digital marketing agency, and again, we're a quad Google partner. We facilitate all types of digital marketing, PPC. We're also the first agency that I'm aware of in the industry to launch Meta on CPA. Where we're doing CPA for 12%. We're getting between a 38 and 51% return on investment, and we're probably one of the highest achieving agencies that WIP have on the platform for Meta. And we have a digital marketing design agency that build websites. So, and again, high converting websites that our average website would probably convert about 15%, which again, for anyone that knows anything about hotel booking engine conversion websites, is again fairly significant.
Now, based on your accent and what I have now learned where accents come from, I'm going to guess you're based out of Louisiana.
I'm actually based out of New York.
That's AI is not working so well. It's not really trained so well.
So I am obviously English, just barely London, but I now live in New York. So I'm part of the. I'm one of the global directors. New York?
I wasn't aware you were in New York now.
Well, because we decided to put the office there in a fatal error of judgment that I'm now constantly going back on and trying to find somewhere else to live. Because New York is wonderful for a weekend. But when you have to set an office up there and pay taxes there, it's not so much fun when you have to pay rent. So, and the tiny shoebox that I live in now, it doesn't support my lifestyle. So I need something.
Cities in the world to live in. Yeah.
Well, bizarrely, while I've been here in Vegas, the reason I've been here so long is because I've been meeting with the economic board here about resiting Avio's US head office here. So, and there is a strong possibility that I may be.
Hold up. Before you do that, I'd be happy to introduce you to the Economic Development Board here in Central Florida.
Well, I'm actually going there next week, so feel free.
Heard. So if you would like, I can set you up a meeting because I can tell you, there's a lot of hospitality here. If you weren't aware, some of the strongest hospitality brands in the world are here.
Yeah, there's a very small digital marketing and CRS company there, just tiny one. Yeah, tiny. That's based up the road. I probably would have been there.
But on top of that, it's really cheap to live here.
There is that, and I lived in over there for a year, so it's
and there's no taxes.
I've got a lot of friends there.
There are no taxes.
It's neat as Vegas.
Ed almost slipped and said, "I don't pay any taxes."
I did not say that. I said there
no taxes. I pay small taxes.
Very low taxes. Very friendly employment law. We do have moisture, so I'm just selling you against Vegas.
Well, you say that moisture is not. I've got quite curly hair. I spend my whole life tonguing it out so it's straight. If I go into a humidity, like Leo said, it's not good.
It's no worse than New York's humidity.
Or what you can do is you can send out a press release and just say that you are looking at relocating your headquarters. Do the same thing Amazon did. I mean, Amazon did it. You got 100 cities bidding, getting billions of dollars. I would think you could do the same, same strategy. Yeah.
To be fair, I've recently done that in a Californian area. I'm not going to say where, but I met with the board there, and they pretty much said 40 jobs. What do you want us to do? Well, we'll buy you the coffee. Are you done? It's busy.
They don't
late. So okay, fine. So won't be going there.
Email me after. I can set you up a meeting with the Greater Orlando Economic. They've been very good to me through two companies now on quite a bit of financial support. For bringing the right types of jobs to the area, and also quite a bit of government support. So with my last company, we relocated to a city that was harassing us through our building, and then magically the Greater Orlando Economic Group came in and was like, "You realize they're going to bring 48 jobs that pay 150% of your median household income, and you're delaying them." And magically, we had no more issues. Building got completed.
Is that Guido with the Orlando Economic Development Board?
As far as I'm concerned,
his brother Donato.
It doesn't matter.
Did you pay them a Mercedes, a black Mercedes?
I didn't have to do any of that actually, because Orlando is obsessed with balancing out the source of economic revenue, and there's a lot to balance against with Disney and SeaWorld and Universal, all the hotels.
Well, that's what they've got here with Vegas, is actually they're desperate to get tech, and
Vegas has a great tech quarter downtown with Zappos is really they have developed, Tony Hsieh has done a great job of developing their tech hub there.
Yeah, and actually did from a marketing perspective, and obviously because again the other thing that I always look at is the digital marketing connections here, and what are we actually going to achieve on the ground 10 foot from the office rather than what can we achieve on a bigger scale. And actually that side of it here is really connected. It's actually quite impressive. But then again, you do have several of the largest gaming companies in the world here.
So you've been sucked into a normal thing that happens on this show. You started talking about what your company does.
I did give warnings of how the show works. Yeah, it's all tangent driven.
Shall I continue?
What have you guys been doing?
15 years.
Okay.
So we've been going, well, actually 16 years. We've been going 16 years. We have about 80 people now across the world, 5 offices. we are an Irish company. No jokes, please. We're based headquartered in Limerick, so that is where a lot of our work is done, or not, depending if it's Friday, because it is Ireland. I'm joking. And we probably have about 450 active clients at the moment. So that would be anywhere from a single property to a group of 80 properties. We tend to actually, if I'm honest, I mean, we started up with the group 2 years, or coming up to 2 years. We used to specialize in independent properties, predominantly boutique, but actually where we now sit is the luxury sector. We don't really deal in anything under 3-star, but we would sit in the luxury market boutique chain. So our average client has 10 to 20 hotels, 4 to 5-star boutiques, very beautiful, lovely. And as you will have seen, we obviously do digital marketing for, I think it's the world's largest hotel chain. I can't remember now what that press release said. I think it was something like that. And so we sort of, the reason, and going back to why our booking engine is so good, we have a unique technology called dynamic room substitution, which basically is, again, I mean, it's not AI, but it's another intelligent process that's in place. It basically means that when you are booking, where normal engines would show you that there's no availability, our engine goes back into the PMS, creates this cascade effect, backfills your higher level suite rooms with the rooms that are filling up the quickest, so you can continue selling those quick rooms, but based on rules, based on revenue. So you can say, if Lauren's stay is worth $1,200, upgrade Ed, who is worth $500 to me, but is only staying for one night, and I want Lauren in that. I don't want to put Lauren in an upgraded room. I want to put Ed in an upgraded room because he's only here for a night. So, and it'll do that. And that increases revenue, about 12% direct revenue on average. So if you're doing $1 million, you'll do $125,000 extra just on that process alone.
That's great. That's really good.
We like that one. A lot of hotels like that one. Smart rate matching, which I don't even know why I branded it that, and I can't even say it. I should have chosen something much simpler. Smart rate matching. And
we're not going to throw any stones on that, because this show's called This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing.
Yeah.
So, we won't nail you on misnaming something.
I just realised as well that I haven't even been partaking in my massive chain coffee, which I went and got, so I wasn't thirsty for this.
So listen, we have Stuart from Fuel here, who's has a similar expertise, similar accent. He's also from Louisiana. So, Stuart, I mean, you're probably going to be the one who has the most meaningful questions on this booking platform.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been following it. Obviously, you've been doing a great job with the press releases and getting a lot of buzz on the AI. So I definitely would like to learn a little bit more about what the findings have been with the AI, how, what challenges you faced, and from a selling perspective, what the reception is.
The reception's been really good, actually. It's been significantly better than we thought it would be. So honestly, when we were, having been in hospitality for 20 years and technology in hospitality for 20 years, knowing how slowly everything is adopted constantly, electronic room lock, what's that? Get me a key. Oh, magic, witchcraft, burn them all. So I tend to, we thought it was going to be really slow, but actually what actually happened was everybody went, we need demos of this now. Yeah. And it went through, I mean, literally we are inundated with requests. We've had to hire an entire team, a new team, and train existing staff up to demo the Allura side of the platform. Yeah. Because everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants to see what it's going to do. So, I think where we are guilty from a marketing perspective of judging the industry for being a bit of a slow adopter, sometimes I think we may over-egg that and not realise that they are desperate for new ways to increase their revenue. And I think that's happened because of the OTA. I think the OTA commission has made that all of these requirements to find solutions and better routes to market and cheaper ways to sell rooms, I think that's what's driving it. And
I actually am going to disagree with you. I don't think it's just the OTA. I think it's the overall rising cost of acquiring a traveler. I mean, because listen, I've also been foolish enough to be in this industry for way too long in technology, long enough to remember being able to buy Orlando hotels keywords on Google AdWords for like 32 cents.
Yeah.
And you look at just the sheer cost to acquire someone today. And all the different ways to acquire them, that cost has gone up.
Yeah.
So
and I think as well, I think we have to apportion it to and this sounds terrible, but I think we have to apportion it to the younger blood coming into the industry at a higher level, which actually means that as millennials get into power, which scares me because they're going to make me use Siri, and I can't because it doesn't like my voice. Everything is the weather. It doesn't matter what I ask that damn thing, it gives me the weather. Siri,
you sound awfully English. You must be asking about the weather.
Precisely. I think that's what it is. I think it's just like, oh God, jolly ho, do you want to know what James Bond is doing today? It's not really. I think as the millennials get into power, they're far more into this. You know, they're far more. They are. Their whole lives are run by Alexa for a start. So actually, you know, if a machine's not telling them what to do or isn't doing it for them, then they don't kind of know what they're doing. So I think that's another massive drive of this. And I think if we look at the people that have been all over us about the AI stuff, it is the younger. Without doubt, there is a distinctly sub-40s sect on that. You know, actually, no, that's sub-50s.
It's going to get worse as today's kids shift into consumerism. They're going to be even more challenging to get your arms around than even the millennials, because they grew up with everything being available on demand.
Like, I think the Apple generation, isn't it?
Yeah,
if it hasn't got an Apple sticker on it, they don't want it.
They watch apps on Apple TV, and they only watch the shows they want to watch. They only interact with the things they want to interact with. When we get in the car, it's like random, Dad, I want to hear this song. And it's like, okay, let me look. Oh, yep.
The concept of albums is just
or even just not being able to get what you're looking for instantly with ease.
What's super funny? One of the guys on a panel here. Sorry, after you.
No, go ahead.
Stuart, you silenced us all, Stuart. We were all like,
I was going to say, we live in this instant gratification society that I mean, I do this in the talks that I give, where we kind of go through the technology changes in the last 20 years, you know, pre-iPhone, but everything we do, like you said, is right now when we want it, the way we want it, served up to us, to our specifications, to our personalized specifications.
Absolutely.
So, and it's not just millennials. I mean, millennials get the rap because they're the early adopters, because they didn't have to sit there with a cassette tape with their finger on pause and record and ready to unpause it when that song came on the radio. They didn't have to live through that. So they were the first adopters. But if you look at the demographics now, more and more of us 40-plus-year-olds and beyond are acting the same way. We're just a little slower adopting than everyone else. So,
You know,
you
40
you
pluses,
four
thank you
are
very
so
much.
slow. You four are so slow.
Come on, you guys.
I'm 40 at Christmas.
There you go. I just turned 40 this year, but you know, every one of us has an Alexa in our house. Every one of us listens to music and podcasts on demand. I mean, we're not millennials.
I'm ahead of you guys. I realized Alexa was spying on me. I shut that off. I was in the trial. I was in the trial of it, and I realized it was spying on me.
Wait until your kids are a little bit older, dude. That's going back on because they're going to demand it.
Oh yeah.
I was actually in a thing yesterday, and one of the presenters actually said he's installed an Alexa. He's installed a Wi-Fi node in his Jeep and an Alexa because it's easier to shut the kids up.
Yeah.
Actually,
So
what
is that?
I saw, one of the I don't know, it was TechCrunch or something, had somebody with the I think it's the Google Home Mini. It's just like a little disc. It's really pretty small. I think you could do it with a Dot, an Amazon Dot as well. But they had it hooked up to their car, and they had it hooked up to the Bluetooth away, and they're like, it's great, and they just that's how they say, hey, I want to listen to music, I want to do whatever. and it works fantastically.
But if you think Audi have had internet in cars for 8 years, 9 years. I mean, I used to be one of their launch agents, and I remember launching the A8 with them in
Well, it was before
Europe.
3G. They had it before 3G was in the US.
The car just came with a dongle, and it was done. It plugged into the glove box, and you could do anything you wanted. And the car was a constant moving hotspot, which is why we all named them things like underveiled surveillance car and FBI and those stupid things that you do. And then genuinely, I can remember being in a car park and somebody saying some idiots named their car undercover surveillance unit. The police are never going to catch anything. And I thought, well, with intelligence like that, I bet they'd catch you. You think it's real. So yeah, good fun.
So back to this. So what are you introducing any new types of content into the booking process to test what else moves the needle?
Yes, so I mean, we already translate. For a lot for us is about translation and about the emotive journey into it. And because obviously I'm a marketeer through and through, so I will always go to the content side of what you can create with this system. So everything we're doing at the moment, I had a meeting yesterday about potentially putting endless languages on it by just putting hooks in. We already know that translation into own language massively increases conversion anyway. And so what we're now trying to do, what we're now looking at testing is, can we take that one step further? And bizarrely, actually remembering to do the meta tags and things in other languages. It's amazing how many agencies forget to do that and how many software companies forget to do that. And you go,
yeah, but when you forget to do that, it makes sure that your analytics show that it was pointless to do all the translations because all your conversions only happen in these 3 languages.
Exactly. So
the 3 languages you did everything in are the only 3 languages that are booking. All these other languages you preloaded just aren't booking.
Yeah, somebody said to me yesterday, there's 14 different types of Spanish. So I said, can we just concentrate on the 3 I know about? never mind the other 11.
Well, listen, when you get into like the Latin communities, they'll know if you're speaking their language if you dog one of the other Spanish languages in the translation. I mean, that's how you'll really get that gritty like authenticity.
Yeah, don't try to show a Frenchman French Canadian or a French Canadian.
That's right. It's about the worst thing you can do, eh?
What's that all about?
I'm curious about your what you're seeing on mobile right now. Yeah, we've been hearing for a long time about the mobile tipping point for traffic. Happened several years ago. We're seeing a second tipping point now where some of our clients are now getting more bookings on mobile phones than they are on desktop. I don't know, and that seems to be against the industry trend, which everyone we talk to seems to be lower than that. But I don't know what you guys are seeing.
Exactly the same. So and bizarrely, you want some interesting stats. So I was, as Lauren said, we were on tour together last week, and I kept parsing out this stat. And when I got back, I decided to rerun the stat as well, just because that stat was 3 months out. And it's now France and Germany both have lower conversion rates. They're totally going the opposite way. France and Germany have lower conversion rates on mobile over desktop than they're actually going backwards. So where they were at like, I think 8.2% of all bookings were done via mobile instead of desktop. They're now going back, and they're now at 7.2 and 7.3. France going backwards at a rate of knots.
Wow. What do you contribute that to? That's really interesting. That's not what I'm seeing at all.
I think potentially it's just because of the way that the hotels are potentially marketing. So I think if you look at the industry, everybody is pushing smart rates. If you look at mobile rates, if you look at certain sectors of Europe, they're actively not doing that. And that then skews the trend, because actually what you then have is you have two countries looking like they're going the other way, and actually they're not. They're just not pushing the mobile rates because they're getting better. They're getting more revenue on desktop rates, and so they're actively marketing those instead of actively marketing the mobile rates, which would increase the
rates on desktop versus mobile.
Yeah.
What's the rationale behind that?
So normally if we were talking about mobile only rate, we would be recommending hotels do mobile only rates for last minute availability. Or proximity marketing. So, and Lawrence is the expert on proximity marketing, having seen his examples last week, or that one example that shows that he really knew what he was doing with that one. what we would normally do is sort of say, if you're going to proximity market something like an airport, if you're a really close hotel and you're going to chuck out some rates, you've got a 45% of availability, and you want to put out a mobile rate that's 5% more for people that haven't just arrived at an airport with no hotel room. That's going to obviously, that would affect that. But what you're actually doing is we're seeing some hotels go the other way with that and do lower rates on mobile. Again, no, it's not what you're meant to be doing. You're meant to be doing higher rates. Last minute availability is more, not less.
Some of them, some hotels that I work with, and I've been trying to talk them out of doing this, are doing a lower rate on mobile because it can't be shopped by some of the shopping technologies. But the thing I keep pointing out to them is it just can't be shopped by certain shopping technologies. But you're going to be training your consumer, and it's a horrible idea.
And then really piss them off when, for some reason, their phone dies, and then they hop onto a desktop and they can't get it.
Or they call their wife and say, "Hey, look at this rate online," and she's pulling it up.
I don't see it. Yeah, exactly.
It's great for last minute availability for a higher rate, but and I think we had this conversation quite a lot last week, because I have this big issue with hotels that think, "Oh, I've got 15% of my rooms left, I'm just going to slash the rate." And you go, "Well,
wait,
brilliant idea."
Crazy. You should absolutely.
When did that start becoming something that you do? I thought it was when you have 95% of your rooms left, you slash your rates. When you have 15%, you raise your rates.
You back it on the OTA and get crazy money.
It's just. You just give up. You just go. There is a fundamental issue with understanding how you market that last 20% of the rooms. They're gold mines. They're not. You've done the work. You've got 80.
We've started working with some new types of hotels, and I was talking to a revenue manager at one of these new types of hotels, and they were asking for advice. They're in Central Florida, and they're asking for advice on some of the softness that's happening in November. And I'm like, "Well, what are you considering doing from a rate structure? How do you do this? All of that?" And she whips out, "Yeah, we're going to do 40%." And I'm like, "What? 40% off? Like, first of all, it's offensive to any consumer any other time of the year for you, because you're basically telling them you're stupid 11 months of the year." And so I just kind of did listen, you've got a pretty strong database, you're a pretty big property. I mean, have you just thought about explaining to people why it's incredibly nice to come to Orlando certain weeks of November, including if you like to go to the outlets, it's some of the only weeks you can actually get into them. And if you're doing theme parks, there's no one in the theme parks, so you can actually do 3 of them in a day. And it was a complete alien idea to her. I'm like, rather than leading with such a rich discount, why not sell the reason why it's nice to be here? I have another hotel in South Florida. It was the same idea. I accidentally went there one summer because they were cheap. And coming from Orlando to South Florida, it was 10 degrees cooler because they were on the ocean. And I was like, why don't you market to Orlando that you're 10 degrees cooler than Orlando? And there's no New Yorkers or Northeastern people here who normally are your customers because it's too hot for them, but it's cooler for you. So get to stay in a super high-end hotel at a fraction of the cost, because it's amazing to be here at this time, and you don't have to discount as far.
But again,
I think we're obsessed with discounting.
Emotive marketing. Yeah, and I spent my entire life saying to hotels, emotively market. Don't slash the rate to get the same clients you always get in on that. Sell value. Sell something different to somebody new to get a whole new client base in at a higher rate.
I don't work with this hotel, but I'll let you all know. The Breakers in Palm Beach, which is probably one of the nicest pieces of real estate in the world, and it's like $2,000 a night to stay there this time of year. In August, you can stay there for $300 a night, and they'll give you breakfast for $4 and green fees to their golf course.
Well, and this is Rich. You were with it. You saw me when we were talking to the people, the revenue managers at the different Rocket presentations. and when we were doing the dialogue where I challenged the group to give me a revenue problem, they were always surprised when I was saying there's no reason to be discounting or giving away. The first question from a marketer to a revenue management person shouldn't be, what offer do you have? What discount are you giving? What's the special thing? It's more about what's your market? What are you targeting and defining that? And then let's go over and spend the money smartly to get down to that audience, not, oh, let's broadcast out, like you said, Ed, 11 months of the year, you're stupid for thinking that you're going to spend what you spent compared to the 1 month you're giving it away.
Well, and the bottom line is understanding the guest, and the question hoteliers are loath to find out is why, right? That's the best. Why are you staying with us? And again, this presentation, this guy Hank Walpert was great. He was part of it was on. Actually, he didn't cover any digital marketing. He just covered the sales department, and he went through all the basics and how many hotels just completely blow it. He goes, look at the what's within 4 or 5 areas. And he says this now when he's selling these hotels, he will get an aerial photograph and he'll go, what's that building? And they'll go, what? I don't know. The big one over there. What's that? And they're like, I don't know. And it's like, well, let's look. And it's like, wow, there are a bunch of companies in there. Anybody talk to them? No, I don't think so. And then going through things like shopping malls. But he said which I thought was a great thing was, he said what he recommends is general managers spend 1 hour a day, like at checkout, just talking to people at the front desk going, hi, I'm the GM. What was great? Why were you here? What's going on? Things like that. And he said one of the general managers he'd worked with, this guy was better than any salesperson in the department. He'd come back with a list every day and say, hey, I talked to somebody, they were with this soccer team or something like that. Well, okay, that's this one team. They're probably in a league. What federation is that? And all of a sudden they just work it up the thing, and all of a sudden they've got massive numbers of teams that do the same thing.
I'll go even easier for you. We ask every guest that question when we're asking them for the other stuff we're doing. We ask for what'd you do while you were here?
Right.
Why? Because we want to know what you did, because that helps us understand what matters.
Oh yeah. Well, they do it with
religious
groups. They do it with religious groups, and then find, well, here's this church, and here's this group of churches, and and all of a sudden they find out that there are 5 people in the city who know everything that's going on, or the the local sports reporter, right? Who knows every single sporting event that's coming in. All of a sudden you can start reaching out to other teams of inbound, he goes, it's endless. And these hotels are adding 10, 15 points to their occupancy just by covering these raw basics.
No, I would say I've recently done this with one of my North Carolina clients, and I asked them to put together an event diary for me of everything that's good. They're a downtown, they're a luxury boutique downtown. Charlotte. It's super cool, massive conference, but nothing at weekends. So it's standard. Let's look at the event diary. What's going on? Find me local events, without realizing, and this is the British living in the US that gives this away every time, that every day is something. So now I have green eggs and ham day. I have cappuccino day, National Coffee Day, and so every day somebody from that hotel phones me and says, "What should we do today to emotively market?"
Just
and
please,
nothing.
Never Taco Tuesday unless you have a cantina on property.
Yes, please.
Never even that happens ever. Nothing. No burritos.
Am I the only one who's seeing Rich as a collage of riches?
I think it's very cool. You are heavily pixelated and quite abstract.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wow.
It looks like witness protection program.
It turned into the liquid metal Terminator.
Well, yeah, it's because the resolution is still good at the top bar, but cut up and pixelated underneath. It is bizarre, but you sound great, and the motion's there. It's just visually.
I really like it. I think we should all. I think it would improve. It would improve this live show if we were all like that. I think.
If we're all like that, so yeah. Or certain ones of us. Are you trying to get to something, Robert?
That's just my top. That's just my shirt. I decided to go for that Dali-esque look today, so I've dressed accordingly.
Definitely.
I'm enjoying this.
So I go with the booking engine. Where do you see it going? I mean, obviously you've got a presence and it's growing. Do you see that all booking engines are going to have to follow suit eventually with what you're doing, or are you going to be able to keep that vanguard?
Absolutely. I mean, I think. I mean, we know that we've probably got 18 months lead on our nearest competitor, and we know that because obviously they've recently tried to acquire us. So we know that we've got a good luck jump, but we also know that everybody knows this is where this is going. You know, Google, between them, Google and Amazon are going to probably end search in the next 3 to 5 years anyway. So we know that stuff has to become more AI focused. Things have to become more automated because actually, as voice automation comes in, this stuff is going to get done automatically with bots. So we need to make sure that's all tied up. Look at your WeChat example. It's a fantastic example of when one thing starts, everything else cascades.
Right. What booking engines, what PMSs that do you interface with, or is there not a PMS that you don't interface with?
We interface with a lot. We've probably got 12 of the major PMSs that most would have, and then we've got a couple of the obscure ones, and then for the rest of the time we go in through either one of the channel managers, so SiteMinder, RateGain, any of the others really. I mean, I think there's only really 2 channel managers we don't work with, and they would then take us into another 150 PMSs between them. Yeah, the really obscure ones that you have no idea, things called Dingus and things like that, and you just go, what? PMS
so for the AI to function properly, they really need to be on your CMS and that sort of thing. So you've done the web development, you can go tag everything to it, or do you have some things where you can pick off signals from other?
Yeah, we'll put the booking engine into an existing website, and then we'll tag and we'll disseminate, because obviously once they're into the booking engine process anyway, Allura, which is the AI bit, is a bolt-on. So the booking engine is convert, that goes into the website, and then Allura tags on, and we'll link Allura into everything else in the website to pull the most emotive content in. So long as it's in a decent CRS or a CMS.
So are you going to develop Allura to be able to sit over other booking engines?
No. We wouldn't put Allura over anybody else's engine. Well, I won't even build a website for somebody that's going to put a different booking engine in. I'm like, I'm not building you a 15% converting website. So you can put some junk in there that converts at 2%.
have them complain about the conversion. Yeah.
3%. 3% is not the number anymore, by the way. It's gone down.
Yeah.
Like the industry still talks 3%. But as a technology that spans across a lot of hotels and a lot of different booking engines, I can tell you that 3% is achieving goals. 1.8 to 2.1 is more of the norm now, which we just like.
It blows our mind drastically from
last week.
Yeah.
And they were getting 0.9 and thought that was acceptable.
We see a lot of that.
It was just like 0.9.
Yeah, 0.9.
Cool.
And this tells you, like, this is why people are like focusing on the wrong parts of the marketing funnel right now. Because when you're converting at 0.9, that's when you're looking at site conversion tools and things like that, which I think are ludicrous. I think site conversion tools are foolish as standalone products because there's a price ceiling. You know, the price it costs to fix whatever's causing your site conversion issue. And your money should be going into driving traffic into a well-oiled machine that converts that traffic and not getting distracted by the add-ons and the bolt-ons and bobbles. Like, have a strategy that makes sense.
How do you widen the neck of that hourglass, I think.
And again, I mean, look at the whole rate parity thing. I had to explain to a hotelier last week why rate parity has to work both ways. And they were like, but we're so much cheaper than the OTAs. I'm like, okay, so now put yourself in the consumer's foot. You've just gone onto Expedia and seen that it's $300, and I've just gone to your website and you're charging $100. My result is not, let's book that, it's a bargain. My result is, what's wrong?
Yep.
I'm not looking
I'm going to keep looking.
I'm going somewhere else.
Because I've now found disparity, and I'm a bargain hunter, and I'm never going to stop looking.
Another cheaper one somewhere else.
Everywhere they look, they're being exposed to your competitors, and this is where I have said all along, since the war on rate parity has lit up, it's backed by the OTAs because they're the ones who win.
Of course they are. Of course they are. And in Europe, I mean, before I came to the US, in Europe, the rate parity thing is kind of a thing of the past now. I mean, it's
so bad.
Like
the only people who win are brands and OTAs. Every independent hotel in a market is screwed when rate parity goes out the window in their market, because they're back to the old days where you were screwed by a desperate hotel in your market that would just skew everything and suck up the demand, and then you get the ones who then just permanently execute off of someone else, and there's a huge issue, and it's coming back up. And I was one of the early kind of educators of rate parity, and it kills me that it's going back the other way, because
they think they're being clever and doing something, and they don't realize that. And you see it on TripAdvisor, right? TripAdvisor and is just such a terrific little window into what the hell is going on, and they don't realize the OTAs have little spiders running through, clicking through whatever their business listing with 20% off, and going to finding what that rate is, and in many cases they're matching it, and they don't know, and the hotel gets told, "Hey, you can't do that. You're violating rate parity." It's like, seems like you were first, and and you aren't going to win that. You aren't going to win that game.
No. All you're going to end up with is a massively lower rate, a really confusing message, and all of that marketing dollars that you spent on Meta and PPC and display advertising and video advertising just going totally out the window, because all you've done is spend.
And you're violating the golden rule, which is it good for your guest? And no, if it's not good for your guest, you should not be doing this.
Right.
So, Rich, when it comes to the AI, I mean, obviously the value proposition of what you're doing for conversion values is profound already. Do you see the next bridge going into being able to be mitigating the marketing strategy of what would be done with the information that you now use, and drive them towards the funnel process? Is that where you see the next step for you guys?
It's more, I would say, more joined up. So if you think, if the AI is doing the marketing for the less advanced marketeers in the marketplace in a hotel, if you've got a piece of software that's doing half the job for you, and you have an account manager, or you have a salesperson, or you have somebody inside a business saying to you that this is how this software does this, you just need to do this bit well. You focus on doing that bit well, and the software will do the bit where it puts it all together and joins it up and makes it sense and does the demographic and does all the geotagging for you. And it does all of that automatically. You don't need to worry about that anymore. You no longer need to know or care how French people book hotels on a Thursday to stay on a Tuesday, because that bit of the software will do that. You don't have to work out how to do that, and it will even work the rates out for you and put the best rate in there to make sure your best rate is your revenue is the highest, which then means we can start focusing from digital marketing perspective on, okay, now let's look at all your digital marketing campaigns that you're doing and ensuring that what you're putting into the engine is also at the highest quality it can be to convert. Because it's great.
That's the scary part that's in my head when you're saying that.
Your digital marketing can get people landing on these niche landing pages, right? Which are like, it's a Thursday in September, and they're from France or whatever. And this is probably the highest probability thing that people tend to like.
See, when we look at the long term way that travel should be sold, the current iteration of what we call a website, we believe, has very short future, and it's more about experiences that change based on, because you don't even have to do landing pages anymore. You can I'm just saying it's the place where that promotion it's the entry point of your experience on your website, right? Well, these fixed website modules, they're problematic anyways, because most hotels' websites are focused on bottom of middle of funnel education. What do we need to push you over the line? And they're starting to get challenged on doing really good content and then mashing it up to that type of architecture. We personally believe that in a very short order, you're going to see what a site is completely change, and it's going to be different for every single visitor, because it's going to be
Absolutely.
tailored
It's a
to
portal. Yeah.
how they got there, who they are, what behaviorally they've done leading up to that point.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what Allure is doing. So that's ultimately what our AI engine is doing. It's creating that experience. And you know, I mean, if you think of every conference that any one of the five of us have been to in the last year, where have you not heard that the market is now moving? 70% of the market want experience over possession. Everything is moving. Life's value has changed, and now people don't want stuff; they want experience. So what you have to then build that into your marketing for any business. Take hotels out of it. You know, it's any business that it can provide an experience has to now digitally market and ensure that the people that are coming to their websites, coming to their landing pages, coming to interact with the brand is the best quality possible. And actually, if you can take out a huge process that dogs marketing departments and takes huge amounts of time so that they can concentrate their time on that exponential and experiential marketing, all day long, you're going to win.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to push back with you guys a little bit because I feel like in theory, what you're saying, I agree 100%. But in our clients, your clients, everyone on this panel's clients are probably going to be heading fast in the direction that we're all talking about. But we live in a world where 90% of the clients that come to us and ask for help still don't have a mobile responsive website. You know, they still don't have a booking engine that integrates with their main URL. They're still not HTTPS. There's fundamental things that this industry is really slow to adopt. So talking about AI and personalization, we've been talking about it for years, and yet a fraction of a % of the industry has really adopted it. So I don't think it's going to be as quick as you think. I think some people will move that way that quickly.
Well, and Stuart, you work with us. You know our approach to that. We force the adoption. We don't let them know that's what they're doing. We just I mean, that's the bottom line. Right? The majority of Flip2's experiences today no longer integrate with the hotel's website because the hotel's website was the highest point of failure for us. So what did we do? We built truly dynamic modules that, I mean, we send everyone to the same exact experience, but based on how you got there, it's completely tailored to what mental state you're in. And we had to do that because our weak point was hotels just not understanding it. And so what? It's in our price. They get AI, they get, you know, the deeply personalized experience. We CNAME it for them, so they're, you know, we're invisible. But the bottom line is we get what we need, which is the high conversion. Because we, you know, we are really big on making sure our hotels see really big results from the traffic we bring. And the only way we could do that was to pull out of, just skip the pain and tell them about it afterwards when they ask, why is your stuff working better than this stuff?
And it's conjoined marketing. It's conjoined working. So for instance, on on that, we, Avio, always push Flip2. So when we're talking about emotive and about engaging experiences, we always push Flip2. We always push 3 or 4 different softwares that we work with that we know achieve. Because actually, for us,
what are those 3 or 4 software?
Yeah, you don't have to just pick. You don't have to do the Flip2 thing.
Okay, so Deck Chair. Have any of you seen Deck Chair yet?
No.
Okay, so Deck Chair is super cool. God, I love this thing. So it's look at me sitting up now. Oh, I'm going to do a talk. Right. So Deck Chair, basically, they install a webcam at the most prominent point.
I have heard of that.
You have seen it. It's amazing. It's so good. It's like, so they installed a webcam at the most prominent point of your hotel. So they'll look at your hotel. Let's say you're in Marble Arch, central London, or you're next to the Empire State Building. They will install a webcam that gives the best overall view of horizon of your experience at the hotel. And this thing streams live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to the website. So when you go onto the website, you are greeted by this is what's happening in central London today. This is what you will see if you come and stay at our hotel. So it's very, I mean, its ideology, I think, is quite similar to Flip2, which is actually, here is the experience you will get from this point in time. So whereas Flip2 is very much, this is user collaborated experience building, this is also real time as well. So I think those two tools together.
To tie doing that back to a topic we talked about for the last 2 weeks, which is how to market in the face of disaster written areas. 2 years ago, I was in Puerto Rico talking to the GM of one of the Waldorfs, and they were having a really hard time because of Zika. And I'm standing in his property looking around at families and kids running all around. And my first suggestion to him was put up a webcam. Counteract what the news channels are putting out there, because they're selling it as biggest disaster. It's, it's outbreak. It's outbreak. Everyone's in med suits. And I'm like, just show that it's normal. Like, people are still here. But again, people are still having fun. And it's that idea, that webcam idea. Yeah. And I think it's a great idea because
it's phenomenal.
It's really effective. It's why talk? Just show it.
Yeah. And for me, anything like that. So any of these softwares that put and promote an emotive experience, anything that's going to say, here is a beautiful picture, here is a beautiful image, this is what you're going to see when you come here, this is the experience people have when they come to this hotel in real time, that is always going to significantly increase conversion over any other tool that is just a, look how much money you could have saved. Well, great.
So what else, other than deck chair and flip chair, what else do you?
What else would we do? I'm trying to think at this precise moment in time. Said that. I mean, I actually really like triptease. I like the Ilio thing, which again is kind of, it's bordering on the rate parity side of things, but actually I think from a push through, I really like Review Pro. I have a kind of a bit of a soft spot for Review Pro as well. And I think from a hotelier perspective, not from an end user perspective, I think OTA Insights is outstanding. I think as a marketing tool, we actively sell, I mean, obviously we actively sell all of these softwares I'm talking about, but we actively sell OTA Insights to any hotel who says to us, no, we have a real problem with rate parity. We don't really know when the events are in the area, or we don't really understand when we should increase rate. We go, well, okay, so other than the fact you're a revenue manager and you should know that, because that is what, well, there's a few industry courses, that will teach you how to do your job if you don't know how you're doing it. This clever little piece of software will actually just sit there and tell you how to do your job. All you really need to do is trend map. And if you can't do that, then ultimately have you considered a job working on buses? Taking tickets, driving them,
Now, actually, I've got a question on the triptease, and so with your booking engine, are you picking up signals from something like a triptease where you can then go and dynamically modify your price to match?
Yes. So we're fully integrated. So what triptease does is the other way. So triptease will pull our price and pull the rate parity side. So we would then highlight that to the hotel if there's a big problem. Ultimately, the hotel should be doing that themselves, but we would actually bring that to the fore.
Have you gotten to a point, I mean, if you're working closely with triptease, why aren't you just taking the feed and making sure it never shows to the consumer as a parity issue? Yeah, like I know Travel Tripper does that in their booking platform, where it'll automatically adjust the website.
Yeah, the triptease has to go do that. We integrate too, and we have a couple of options for our clients. So one is if it finds a rate disparity, you can not show the competitive rates, but more often than not, most people go to it automatically adjusts the rate down based on what's come back from triptease. So
I'll go back to, I mean, I do have conversation about triptease, but I don't want to go over and eat up all the conversation because of it. But I will go back to one thing that you mentioned, Stuart. I think until we have a downturn in market where there's a culling of the herd, I don't think that what you're pointing out as being, thank you, Mr. Obvious, because it's true. They don't care because it doesn't affect them in a way that they understand. And so they're not doing these fundamental things. But as sure as heck, when the world dries up and there's a problem and they find out that they're not even in the game because they haven't even done those fundamental things, there'll be a huge awakening to that point.
There are regions that the upturn woke them up as well, like the Caribbean, who, yes, has had growth every year, but they did not have their share of growth that they should have had. They lost ground to other sandy beaches. So actually the rise seems to have woken up the Caribbean to what they need to do.
But if you look at Florida, is a great example. Look at Miami. It is actually we have a huge amount of clients in Miami, and from all of this stuff that's gone on, the general rule of thumb with everybody coming back to us has been, well, why aren't people booking with us? Because the Caribbean's underwater. And and I actually said to the hotel last week, what marketing have you done? And they were just, what do you mean? I was like, well, what have you done to tell people that you have an amazing beach? Or
Miami,
that you're not
but here's the
Caribbean?
thing. Miami is also, for at least the next decade, the hotel industry in Miami is going to struggle because of the sheer amount of inventory of places to stay. And I'm not just talking about current use meant for tourism, but I mean all those skyscrapers that are full of units that were meant to be sold to Chinese investors and Brazilians and all of that, that is dried up, and there's a pipeline they have to finish. They can't not finish these skyscrapers. That is going to put an immense pressure on the tourism industry in Miami for at least a decade.
Airbnb. That's the problem.
Well, no, not just that. I think you're going to find like the mix of what Airbnb is trying to develop in Kissimmee right now, where there's these apartment communities that are built to have an Airbnb play to them. But I also think some of them will just operate. I mean, we have in downtown Orlando, there was a skyscraper that finished. It's like the last one built. It finished right at the bottom of the meltdown. And it was meant to be super high-end condos. It's an apartment community. And they haven't been able to get off of that because of it.
But again, look at things like Contempo. So if you're talking about Kissimmee, if you're talking about Orange County, look at the rise of Contempo serviced villas there. Pretty much the Brazilian population, the Mexican population coming from schools, stay with nobody except Contempo because they can get 5-bedroom pool houses for $600-700 a month. They're never going to go anywhere else, and these are high-end communities where they're all together.
50% of the inventory of Polk County, which is Kissimmee and kind of the surrounding area, are homes. So 50% is traditional hotel room. 50% are vacation homes. And that's been the case for a while.
Richard, even when we were doing the presentations, remember Chris Crenshaw and pointed out the fact that Miami, Houston, and New York, Miami's going to be underwater for the next few years. It's never going to, and even when it does,
and then it will be underwater.
It'll actually be underwater. Right. Figuratively and literally. But even still, it's still not going to see the gains that it should have. It's only going to be recuperating some things that it already lost. So to that point, I mean, it's a market that's going to have its struggles for the next few years.
I think did Chris not point? It's a 5% drop, isn't it? On average, it's Miami is the worst performing state or area full stop across the states for the next 10 years.
My friends and I were trying to find a vehicle to short the Miami real estate market. For the last 3 years, we've been trying to find a vehicle where we can short the market because it is so overheated. It was the beginning of the collapse on the last financial crisis. It was like the pebble dropped in Miami and went and it's again, like no one learned anything. And, I joke with my friends that the famous Porsche Tower in Miami, where, you can have your car come up, is going to end up being like a Chevy Caprice Tower by the time all the building's done.
I don't want to lose one thought that I had very early on, that in this collaboration that we have out just even on the show today, you figure the aspects of the technology that you all represent, between Flip2, between what Fuel Travel's doing and what you're doing, Rich. Robert and I are more on the sidelines. We just exploit it. But the look at trying to put the marketing strategy together. With
it hasn't become clear to me what Robert actually does. Besides write reports for Focusrite.
This is what I do.
Yeah,
this is what he does.
I've at least interacted with you in hotels. I just figured Robert. I thought Robert started the show or something.
I've assisted. Assisted a number of companies acquiring other ones very successfully. So,
but what are some of the older companies you may have worked with, Robert? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, like Robert.
No, I can't talk about the I can't talk about the private equity stuff. I can't talk who I work with or what's been acquired, but it's been working pretty well. And I just finished a project for some folks in Japan.
You were busy, you were busy for a while.
Yeah.
But Robert's like the CIA of the hotel industry. Everyone's aware he's really involved in a lot of things, but no one really understands.
They can't quite. He's that person.
They know I don't talk about it, which is why they work with me, so I won't blab about it.
Right.
So what you mean
Robert's actually
Disney
reporting
of the
to us from
Hotel Association.
50 miles below the earth.
Yeah. But I'm going back to one thing was the technology you're talking about, the artificial intelligence capacities and so forth. There's a program I mess with, and I'm getting really good with it, that redefines the parameters with Facebook advertising. And I've tied it through Zapier so that as the demographic profiles begin to get isolated into the insights of the Facebook page, the ad campaign budgets and what it gets targeted on gets modified. It's like a macro controller for the Facebook ads. And I'm thinking, how insane would it be for what you're doing with the AI for the booking engine funnel itself, Rich, if it got plugged into that kind of functionality through the dynamic ads for travel on Facebook, where you're now isolating the demographic information in a way, timing-wise, dynamically creating the rate necessary for the sale for the person on a platform at the time designated. That's just a crazy combination of opportunities.
And that is what the OTAs are doing fundamentally.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lauren, I'm glad you said that. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I think we know what Flip we're doing.
What? Gee, but I mean, it's crazy because then I was going to bring in the Flip2 process with the Flip2 engagement process. Oh my God, that plugged together. Yeah.
Could you imagine if you could just go into an extranet and say, hey, what audiences are converting really well in my city today? Oh, great. I want to target those audiences with this type of content, and I want them to have this web experience with this email drip path behind it. I mean, I just wish someone would build the technology that would do that.
No, it's an AI booking engine that would do that.
Ed has developed something brand new. It's a wheel of fortune, and it has two wheels.
Okay.
One is you spin it, and it comes up with a segment. You just have these random segments. And then you spin the other wheel, and that's your bid.
Right. I'm changing my name. I'm changing my name to Mr. Obvious. I'll just do that. I'm just going to change my name to Mr. Obvious. Thank you, Mr. Obvious.
But that's the point of everything. Like when you look at the groundwork that the three of us really, I mean, because Fuel does a lot of this too, and and Avio does this, and Flip2, plays in it quite a bit. What's happened now in the ability to take large swaths of data and quickly match it up against like really detailed data that you have, and then come with quality insights that then can be put into programmatic advertising and things like that. Like it's all recently become really easy to do.
Right. It is very recent of a thing. It's very true.
Right. So you're going to see a lot of companies that have the footprint to match up quality data with some of this bigger data that's out there quickly, and we'll start building endpoints that really drive value to the industry. Like I expect, I mean, I'm sure we're not the only ones that have been looking at this for a while, but you'll see there's an entire section of Flip2 being launched in first quarter that we just call broadcast, which plays in this entire area.
Well, I think Rich made a great point whenever said that, look, these people can't even understand how to make this process work. The marketers aren't really marketers. They don't even know how to push the buttons and pull the levers. You're just saying, hey, look, put the little stuff on the top and the magic comes out the other end. Yeah. I mean, you're basically just saying, forget about trying to educate these people. We're going to just do it for you.
Well, no, you prove it to them. You sell it to them with good intentions. You prove it to them with results, and then you teach it to them. So we're just doing it backwards.
Yeah, I think if you look at the stuff that we all do from education-wise, we
try.
all do these talks. We try.
Right.
I mean, I spend probably half my working life on an HSMAI or HFTP or somebody's course somewhere teaching people how to market, how to revenue manage, how to optimize, and they all look at you. I mean, look, Lauren will vouch. I mean, there were some genuine scary light bulb moments on the Rocket Tour last week where Bonnie would say something and these guys would go, wow, we should do that. And you're thinking,
you change your rates by day of week? No.
Cool. Okay. I think we might know why this stuff's not converting.
But I'm a strong proponent, though, of the more enlightened these marketers are, they can do, yes, you can have great algorithms, you can have great technology, and you can do better stuff, and that's fine, and you can beat a lot of your competitors. But boy, if you can bring in some really good, sharp insight from the property, I mean, then you've really got something.
Well,
and sometimes it's about teaching them how to read those reports and actually how to process that data, because the data we're giving them, I mean, the amount of times I have to talk people through an insight. I mean, Avio's reporting package is called Insights. The amount of times I have to sit down and say to people, if you configure, this is one of the best insights packages on the market. Like, nothing is as good as our reporting function for website analytics, booking engine analytics, funnel analytics, sale analytics. And you go, if you put these reports together, it will tell you your ideal demographic. I can tell you how to market to somebody on a Tuesday, what's going to convert better on a Thursday, what market is booking with you on a Friday, and you can run your digital campaigns that way.
Let me ask you this question. Why tell them?
Because
I mean, revenue management systems have foregone that. I mean, there's already been a proof of concept in this industry where revenue management systems don't bother. Like, they just, here's what you should do, and you want to look at why? Here's a couple of reasons.
I'll say there's one very good reason, and this is why OTAs generally win over hotel brands and independent properties. They have more data and they see more behaviors. So when the smaller the hotel is and the thinner the slice they have of that pie, they can see the behaviors of the stuff that they know. Right. Yep. But anything beyond, so that's where you guys can come in and say, hey, wait, we're seeing this with other clients and things like that, which is good. But
like, how we see the future is platforms like what the three of us represent really are that scaled like expertise. You're not buying technology with any of the three of these companies. What you're buying is a strategy that's incredibly well executed and fine-tuned. And oh, by the way, it's being fulfilled at the last mile with technology. But Avio couldn't build an AI-enabled booking platform without years of experience on what moves the needle in booking. Right. And honestly, if you look at what, like, I'll even challenge what you were saying on trying to educate on the data and analytics and stuff. You just built a technology that skips that.
Yeah, but the idea
AI
is if they
platform
understand
is why bother trying to teach people why they shouldn't have 30 rate plans? Why not just build a technology that goes, we're only going to put your most effective rate plans in front of the people that are likely to buy it. Skip the education, let them see the light that way. And then the ones who want to understand it, make sure you're really good at educating them. And then the ones who don't care and just are happy, like, let them be happy. Don't beat your head against a brick wall. Well, teach the ones who want to learn.
It's that inbuilt desire to educate, isn't it? It's
I learned this
I don't
from
want you just
Easy Yield,
using
though.
it.
Like, I mean, I have this attitude because I spent 10 years at Easy Yield beating my head against a brick wall trying to move this industry. And I just realized that, like, even there's always an educational piece to everything I do. So I'm not dogging education. But quite honestly, nowadays, you can just do it. And then your customers will realize that what you did was magical, and the good ones will ask how. Educate them.
Well, but I still say, what percentage? I mean, and that's good. That's good for Flip2 and all the touch points that you can have. But what percentage of the hotel's total occupancy and NOI, right, is really coming through it? The informed, the critical importance of having informed hotel managers affects the whole other part. So if you can hit 30%, 40%, that's great, but you've still got 60% of it where those strategies of what they're doing, they'll kill themselves if they're doing group wrong. They've got the wrong corporate rate. All of a sudden, they're squeezing off your opportunity to perform for them because again, the slice is very narrow. It's like, why the hell do you have one day sold out on a Wednesday?
That's why we
every
firmly
Wednesday
believe
sold out, right?
in not partnering with anyone, and that's why everyone who comes on this show happens to be some level of partner with us. Like, I mean, listen, I'm already talking to revenue management vendors about what we see and where we're going and how that ties up to their platforms. Because one of the biggest problems revenue management systems have is they don't have a complete understanding of what the true capability of the hotel's direct channel is to pull demand across. And because of that, they can't correctly give decisions on what a hotel should do from a business perspective. They can't say to a hotel, these days of the week, shift your business to OTA because that's the cheapest channel. These days of the week, there's no inventory available on anything because you're spoken for in group and corporate. These days of the week, put money into these types of ad units to these types of audiences. Like, I see the Shangri-La being where the stuff that, quite honestly, the everyday independent hotel that we come across isn't out there trying to conquer. Like that stuff can be taken out of the equation for them by just really good vendor groups and consultancies and agencies working correctly together to say, listen, I have no interest in email. I don't want to be an email marketing platform. So don't take Flip2 as a threat because we have email and what we do. And let's work together. You be a really good email marketing platform. We'll be really good at what we do, and let's make it even better for everyone else. And like with Fuel, like great, they are a really wide footprint with their clients, and they didn't react to us the way a lot of agencies and /tech groups do. That they own with their clients almost the entire digital footprint. I can't think of one that you don't. They weren't threatened by us. They saw what we meant. And because of that, we instantly skipped the, what's your future plans? Like we work together. And because of that, our clients are like amazing case studies in success. Like they're all of them are. There's not a lagger. And I think vendors, people like Lauren, if we all come together, because we're the ones who passionately care about this to a like almost scary level, let's just come together and build the answer and stop trying to be the kings of everything. Let's be really good at the things we're really good at, and let the other people be really good at the things they're really good at, and leave room for other people who are going to come up. That's how you're going to fix this problem. You're not going to fix it by trying to think that a hotel will ever be able to justify having the type of staff that any of us have. The cost of it's insane. Like, I mean, my designers alone would blow a hotel out of profitability. But that's what it takes to do a lot of the things we do.
But you need hotel managers who understand how to use the vendors and how to assemble that, that grouping of them. Because again, I look at with everything going, ultimately it's going to somehow make it to the cloud, despite all the obstacles of the legacy hotel technologies and the brands and God knows ill-informed hotel owners. But when the stuff moves to the cloud, it's going to be these bolt-on services, basically, right? And how do you assemble those, and how do you get them that aren't working at cross purposes to make this stuff happen? And that's a skill set that isn't really getting taught at in the universities. I mean, people with a lot of experience are getting it. Yeah.
But I don't want to lose the point that I'll go back to something that Richard mentioned, that the information that you're capable of providing with a full cooperation of what you would be having with a property. Can you just go through that again a little bit? Because what you're basically saying is agencies in the future are going to have to capitulate their current relationship of defensiveness, of territorialness, and say, look, what is the best functionality? Because what you said you solve is pretty much bread and butter questions that agency gets the phone call for. Hey, what should we do for this? I got a promotion. I got a soft spot 90 days out. And you're saying, look, I'm giving you that information on a silver plate.
Yeah, I mean, to sort of put it in layman's terms, I mean, we tend to say to our clients, if you used Insights, for instance, and you said, okay, so I want to know who I'm marking at it goes back to the conversation we were having when we were in Atlanta, I think, about how you market to a set group 6 months out, where you say, okay, what is June for me? What does June next year look like for me? How do I get that booked up? Okay, so let's look at the last 2 years. And actually, you had people booking in June. They weren't booking until March. And the people that were booking in March were Germans who booked on a Tuesday. They booked for a 7-night day. They had this room. They had this, that, and that. Okay, so on that week, you are going to run a campaign where you increase your rate just a smidge. They're used to paying this rate, and it was a great rate. That was your bar rate then. So you're going to push that rate a little bit, and that 1 week where they all booked for June, you're going to fill your hotel, because now on that week where you weren't actively marketing to them before, now you're actively marketing to them. You are actually going to increase your occupancy to that target. And now you can run a bespoke campaign to them. It's targeted. Your dollars are going to be less that you're spending because you're doing it way further out. So the planning is already done. Everything is ready, set, and you push the button on it on that week, and that's going to get you this. And if you build your entire year like that, where you look at the independent markets you're going to be targeting, you're now filling your hotel with the right people above bar rate. You're getting great rate. You're minimizing your marketing spend because actually it's targeted. So you're not spending $1,000 on a Facebook campaign to just anybody. You're spending $300 on a targeted campaign that will give you 98% occupancy 3 months out. And more importantly, it's not OTA business, so it's not going to cancel.
Well, see, and
it's direct business.
listen, you had me all the way up till the end. Like the bottom line is the OTAs are always going to be in the channel mix. If you use them correctly, they're profitable. Right. And so like all the way up to the end, you had me until you did the OTA thing. And I got to tell you, like, I think we need to accept that OTAs serve an amazing purpose.
Absolutely.
And
I am not bashing OTAs.
No, and I didn't think you were, but like I want to make sure, like I explain to my hotels, like there are days of the year that it makes no sense to fight the OTA.
Right.
Take the OTA business.
Lower cost, right.
Right. It's going to be a lower cost of acquisition. It's going to and listen, cope on property. Make sure on property you're doing what you should do to solidify the relationship with that person. Like full stop. And then you've eliminated the one other issue with OTAs, which is they don't share the data with you.
Because giving OTA customers really crappy rooms, because it's like a
bad idea.
Really, really, really bad idea.
I had a conversation yesterday with somebody about the exact same thing. That he said 50% of the time when he books on an OTA, he gets a crap room, and 50% of the time he gets a really good room. And I said, okay. And he said, and I want to know why, when my email address is nick@tnews, they don't know that I'm the editor of T News, and giving me a crappy room anytime, regardless of how I booked, was a bad idea. I'm like,
but you know what? It's the whole thing. But to everybody, it doesn't matter if it's Nick.
Yeah.
It's some guy who goes there and is going to tell his friends, don't say there, I got this crappy room. And they don't care why they got it or they did this. It's just their experience, and they're going to tell their friends.
And the other thing
I do want to pull this back.
And why do you have crappy rooms? It would be my first
Well, that's a bigger question. But I want to bring this back full circle to my point, because it may be getting a little bit lost. I'm more talking about you don't necessarily have to educate them up front. I think you can educate them afterwards, Robert. And that's more of what I'm proposing as the way to speed up adoption is, listen, we don't talk about near the really neat stuff we do because it's scary sounding. So instead, we talk about the things that they are trying to accomplish and understand. And then when they do the, hey, how come you're good at this? Well,
I mean, you bring up a great point. Education out of need is the least retained education compared to education out of interest.
Right.
And to your point, make it work where they become interested. Now all of a sudden they want to know, but they're interested enough to actually learn it, not because, I got to read this manual before I can put something together. But I got to warn you, Rich, I'm going to be actually taking that segment that you just said, slicing that out, and I'm making a freaking video of it.
And he's going to put bunny ears on you.
I'm going to put bunny ears on it. No, because that was a very succinct. If you want in a nutshell, in a 1 minute nutshell, what you should be doing for marketing, regardless of your product or not, if you would approach marketing the way you outlined, taking data, analyzing what you're doing forward, rationalizing what you're doing forward, and targeting it the way you described it, that's a very succinct statement, and I'm definitely going to be
basically saying the next time we go on tour together, I can look forward to you playing a video of me while I'm there.
It is. And now we're going to present Rich talking about Rich.
That's not 100. It's not 100% of it, but it's like that is a fundamental. You have to do. It's the same thing as you have a mobile website. Gee, it should probably work and be or. As Stuart said, HTTPS, it's need to be all these basics, which again, I don't know. I haven't really seen analysis of somebody run through all these hotel websites or even the platforms and just kind of gone, wow, they don't do this stuff.
And I mean, that
bar is so low right now.
You'll see it coming.
Yeah, but once upon a time, you would have said, go and get the Idiot's Guide to Websites. Now you can't say go and get the Idiot's Guide because people go, you calling me an idiot? And you're going, well, to be fair, if you don't know about HTTPS, a little bit, you are an idiot. Because actually, your job as a digital marketeer, and you should probably know that. You're in revenue management. You should probably know these key points to how revenue is created inside a hospitality venture. And if you don't...
all of us, when we speak at any functions that we are asked to, there's always the secondary conversations afterwards. The people that want to ask you questions that didn't want to do it in a public forum, that are usually the most not mundane, but the basic questions, because you made them think about something they hadn't thought about before, but they didn't want to expose that they weren't aware of it during the public presentation. But they'll hit you up afterwards. A lot of those conversations are, I didn't know you could do this versus that, or did this actually work for such and such? And we're sitting there going, well, part of you is satisfied in knowing that you woke that up in them. And the other part is very worried that you had to wake that, what would be a Mr. Obvious thing, up. And there's somebody that should be already doing something like that.
I do a most worrying question of every event thing at the end of every day, where I send my marketing team a thing where I go, right, okay, so the most worrying question of today's event, yesterday's, was somebody who walked up to me and said, I have a digital marketing agency and I didn't realize that you could do Instagram paid ads. Okay. That's good to know.
And somebody pays you to be smart about this. Yeah, that's good.
And then he gave me his card. So I mental note, took that card and went, perfect. Never let anybody go with that.
Target list.
Going to make my job so
a
much
target
better.
list.
Yeah.
If you walk into a hotel and say, this is our agency, you're like, well, now we'll be fixing some things here now.
Well,
okay, so did you know there's a thing called the internet?
Have you ever seen Google?
Yeah.
Do you ask it questions every now and then?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I'll give you
on our tour.
But here's an interesting tidbit. Like, I called Lauren earlier this week because I'm trying to convince him to approach a hotel in Tampa that I think he should convince them to let him manage it, because everything about the hotel is amazing, and they're just cutting themselves so many ways that they're dying because of it. But the hotel is amazing, and it's like, and I'm sitting here selling Lauren. I'm like, just call these people. Like, dude, you could do this part-time. You can see from their TripAdvisor reviews, it's not egregious, but they're just undercutting themselves in like service a tiny bit, and they don't have a booking engine, and they're not selling the right parts of their hotel, and they're doing this wrong. I'm like, I'll give you the owner's name. Call him.
Okay.
If you know the owner, I mean, call the owner.
Give me their name, and I'll give them a booking engine. And then
but they need more than that. Like, I always start with if they need a booking engine, I'll just lead with, here are the only like 3 or 4 choices that you can make, period. And then do that. But what I noticed when I was looking at their TripAdvisor reviews is they're obviously a real estate developer that somewhat gets the purpose of hospitality, but they're just falling short every time. Yeah. So they're not egregious reviews. They're just, this was great, this was great, this was annoying.
Well, they're checking. I look at that. They're checking the boxes. We do that.
Right.
But it's not how well are they doing. Yeah, it's just kind of like,
well, I haven't posted in a year. I have an Instagram account, but I've only posted a picture a year ago.
They went through this like painstaking renovation of this historic building to such a level of detail that it's amazing. It's an amazing property that just needs a little bit of Lauren Gray. I mean,
doesn't everybody?
They need some gray matter.
Gray matter, yeah.
50 Shades of Grey thing has totally changed being able to grey. How exactly do you educate these people?
Well, here's the thing. I look at it as you could educate them. I could try and go to that owner and do the long pain of educating him on every little niche, or I can just introduce him to someone that can fix it for him, and then he can decide from there if he wants to keep that person doing the fix or if he wants to learn it. But I do believe it's easier to teach someone by showing them than it is by long form text and video. Well, except for Stuart, because Stuart looks at pages like this and then he recites it. But not everyone's that way.
It surprised me, Ed, when you started pitching your product to our clients, and we didn't really have the relationship then that we have now, and I didn't know what your product was. It literally, because you focus on their pain points, right? You focus on the things are going to get the sale, and then it's after they've got it installed and after they collect data that you were like, oh yeah, and it does this. And it literally took me about 3 months of us having your product installed on our booking engine, our websites, to realize, holy shit. Can I say that? I just did. Yeah. Holy shit. this is amazing. It does this and this and this and this on top of what they sold us. So it's, I mean, that's why you guys.
And none of it costs extra.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, that's actually how we board a client. We board a client with the minimum knowledge necessary to do the things they need to do that
Solve
day.
the pain. Yeah,
and then on a 90-day process, as things occur, we use the things that occur to introduce more advanced methodologies and data and things like that. And it's just like, so I actually, so Rich, to your insights product, I love that you're doing that, but we've done a lot of research on how the average hotel is handling the data available to them. And even the ones that appear to be very advanced, when you do ask them, like, really, don't bullshit me here. What do you do with these things? They tell me all the same thing. We talk about it a ton in meetings.
And again, just to go to that point, I know who pulls these reports, and I know what reports they pull. And I look, and I go into hotels like, we use that all the time.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I go, perfect. And it's odd because you've never pulled the report. So how do you use it? Just out of interest. You've never actually logged into Insights. So how are you actually processing that data?
So we're going a different route with it. And we do this right now in our system anyways. As Stuart just explained, we only tell you things that we think you can do something with. So we're actually releasing what we call clarity. So you have Insights. We're going to have clarity, where we're going to just tell you something, a nugget.
Yeah.
Like, here's a nugget. In your market, you're the slowest booking engine, but the fastest booking engine in your market is the same vendor.
Yeah.
Chew on that.
We Insights automatically emails like a basic report to everybody that's logged as an admin assistant once a week or once a month. So they get the information, and it's the tiniest snapshot of the information that we think they can process and handle and work with. And then if they want to pull a big report, they log into Insights. And it's all real time. It's all clever graphs and tick boxes and things, not check boxes. And as you hover over it, changes automatically, and you're like, wow, that's really clever. And then they never actually pull the report. So
we have a similar product to that, and we call it the fuel gauge dashboard. And what we took a long time to aggregate data from every source we could think of. We need to actually pull some of your Flip2 data, but we're pulling it from the PMS, from the booking engine, from Google Analytics, from AdWords, from your SEO tools, from social media, into this amazing, it's just a great dashboard. And we customize the dashboard for each stakeholder based on what they need to see. And then we study to see what they're using. And it helps us sell our products, because everyone gets this for free with the booking engine or whatever. And then we look to see what people are looking at data-wise. And all of the GMs and all the rate managers, the only things they're really looking at is the stuff that affects their compensation. So, for example, GMs are compensated a lot of times based on review scores, right? So they're paying attention to the things that really they care about, because there's a direct benefit to them. So we pull in post-stay survey data, and it's looking at housekeeping and all the different criteria that people have scored on. Depending on what your mandate is, what you're compensated on, that's the data they're looking at.
Yep.
It's funny.
And what's amazing, a lot of people don't know this about fuel dashboards, because I don't think a lot of them have gotten to this. But if you actually spend enough time on the dashboard and hover over what you should hover over, the dashboard disappears and says, congratulations. It just got real.
You bring back fond memories for me when I was with the hotel ownership group, where agencies or brand people would come in touting and saying stuff, and I would gloat, knowing that, one, what they were saying was bullshit, two, that they hadn't logged in, or that their login was defunct. And I would literally spin my laptop over going, go ahead, log in and show exactly what you just said. And of course, oh, well, I'm having a problem with the login. It's like, yeah, and I'm telling you, it's like, I know, because I can tell that you haven't logged in and that you haven't looked at this, and it doesn't work like you just said, so shut the hell up.
And quite honestly, I'm concerned that someone in your position doesn't know that we all have this tracking.
Even the folks that are looking at data, they don't know what they're really looking at. We had a client that come to us last week and said, Triptease is my best source. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Not really a source, right? So we start looking. One, they don't have cross-domain tracking set up. So every single person that comes to their site from the original source, as soon as they go to the book engine, they're replaced. Their referring URL is now their actual domain. So the number one referrer, which was 80% of their revenue, was their own domain. Which is like, how's your own domain at referrer? You didn't have the link
self-made analytics. Like, look how great I am.
Yeah, they didn't have the linker code, and then everything that was being booked was getting attributed back to Triptease. I'm like, well, clearly that's wrong. You haven't questioned that one bit. Like, not one other revenue dot is coming from something else. So they're just blindly looking at the data without questioning.
Our favorites are, like, we actually identify customers who really are good at analytics. When they finally ask us, they're like, your platform tells us it sends us all this traffic, but we don't see that in our analytics. And we're like, that's correct, because we don't nuke Facebook. We don't nuke Twitter. We don't nuke LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We show you the organic source. Now, if you want to track which ones we're involved in, we'll gladly show you how to do that in your analytics. Here you go. Now you'll see of your Facebook traffic, here's how much was coming through organic shares from your guests, i.e. flip to. And we can always tell, because here's the thing, no matter what, we do so much traffic for our clients that no matter what, our secondary traffic, which are our certificates, these are our placeholders on how we track someone a year in the future, those always show up in top 10. So pull any of our clients, Google Analytics, number 9 source will say flip to. Those are just certificates. So we know when someone doesn't call us out on, well, your dashboard says you sent this much traffic, but you're showing up in my analytics as this. We know they're not even looking at analytics, let alone, doing anything advanced with them. And that's the majority of our clients never ask the right question. But the ones who do, then we go to town. We're like, so how interested are you in learning? Do you want to know behavior? Do you want to know what else you can do with this? Do you do things where you could put pixels in these? Do you want to run targeted ads? And those clients on our platform, would never question anything then from that point forward that we tell them, because we help, they self-identify that they're really advanced users. And then we go, great, here's how to take advantage of everything. And it's really good. Or we work with vendors that realize it, and we go, here's how you do this for your clients. There you go.
The Peace Corps, helping people help themselves.
That's right. And then the ones who don't, here's the thing. We know we're driving them value. We can see what's happening on their side, and we try to poke them to want to do more, but if they can't, they can't. Not every hotel's in the position where they can afford just a marketing person. So, all right, I'm not going to dog them for not understanding analytics, because they have a director of group sales, event sales, marketing, and they're also manager on duty, and that's one person. That person's not going to have the ability or the brain space to do any of the stuff any of us are talking about. And we just need to accept that that's a reality in a lot of hotels.
But I think that's why we all do what we do. Because actually, when you have those people that don't have that mental space to do that, because they have 9 other jobs to do, the softwares that we all are platforms of should actually be doing half the job for them. So actually making their life easier. And we shouldn't punish them for that.
No, we shouldn't. And honestly, when they are curious, if they want to know more, listen, that's when they end up becoming my client. There are hotels in our entire collection, and if you look at any of them that are considered my personal client, I call them myself and account manage them, it's the ones that have self-selected. And then what do? I look out for them, and I call them and go, hey, I noticed you're doing this, and couldn't do this, and here's who to talk to, because he
just uses a different accent. He uses the kind of maybe not now, but sometime in the future there may be a favor I need to ask from you.
No, listen, man, I am not going to claim to be good at everything, but I'm really good at the things I'm good at, and the people who want to know about that, I want to talk to them, and I want to help them, and then the ones who don't want to know, that's cool.
Yeah.
So basically, you've just admitted that you self-identify that you only work with people that are really interested. If they're disengaged, you're just like, yeah, no, send that to someone that will sap in the business.
Yes, and I'm not shy to say that, because that tells every single one of my clients, if you're interested in being better, you'll
cherry pick you.
You'll get me. Yeah. And then if you're going to be difficult, you'll get one of the people I pay.
When Flip 2 gets to a certain when Flip 2 gets to a certain size, it's like, that's odd. Ed's portfolio of personally managed accounts seems to be these ultra luxury beach resorts.
Family destination ultra luxury.
Exactly.
Listen,
mine are all ones that don't allow kids. I'm just saying.
Rich, before I forget, is there links and so forth that you got to send over to me so I can put them into the show notes?
Yeah,
and so forth.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And then Rich, I'm going to email you. Send me your schedule for when you're here in Orlando. I'd love to get together.
I'm there all next week. So I'm in Miami on Monday and Tuesday with clients, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I'm there for HFTP. And Friday I've got some time if you want fancy a lunch or something.
Well, as long as it's not between 11:30 and 1:30.
Yeah,
the live show contribution to it all. Speaking of which, we are hitting 2 hours. I've got to warn you, Rich, that the show wasn't. We lied to you about the half hour thing. It was like we just talked for 2 hours. It's not a half hour thing.
It was nice that you still lied to him about 2 hours after telling him you lied to him.
He lies. This is what Lawrence clients need to understand. He lies.
And I know that you had to go back for your iPad travel and so forth and things.
Yes.
So we appreciate, I do very much, the time you were able to spend with us. Sorry for the technical snafus at the beginning, but as Ed points out, it wouldn't be our show if there wasn't something like that happening anyway. So.
And it's me. I can barely work an iPhone yet. I'm in technology. I'm worried.
So if people want to find out more about Avio and more, and even in particular with you, where can they find more information?
They can go to www.avio.com. They could go to alora.ai, two V's. They could go to Alora, two L's, ALLORA.ai, and that will give you, and that's actually, there's a really cool real-time destination map in there that will show you all of the Alora instances happening all over the world, which is super cool. I like that bit. And it will show you all the people that are hitting all over the world where they're going as well. It's really cool. And it's real time, so it's coming straight from the servers. And if they want to connect with me personally, they can LinkedIn me, Rich Tuckwell, VP of Avio, and I will connect unless you're trying to sell me something, in which case I won't connect. I'll message you back and say, thank you for your interest in meeting with me. Unfortunately, I'm chronically busy eating with Ed for lunch in Miami.
Excellent.
But yeah, it's been wicked.
Yeah, no, and you have an open invitation whenever you have the time you want to kill to join us. Please always come back. As you can see, we go and bounce all over the place talking about stuff anyway. So it's always a great conversation. Mr. Stuart, if people want to find out more about Fuel Travel, not Flip 2, but Fuel Travel, where can they find out more about you and Fuel Travel? And your podcast.
Yeah,
don't forget to push the podcast.
Yeah, I will not ever forget that. You can get the podcast at fueltravel.com/podcast. We just did an episode last week on booking engines, actually, and why people should focus on their booking engine first before anything else. And then we're doing a Elf, the movie inspired episode today. We're going to be recording about, does your marketing sit on the throne of lies? Spoiler
alert! It certainly does.
It certainly does.
It does not smell like cheese.
Yep. Mr. Robert, where can they find out more about you, sir?
rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole.
Excellent. And Mr.
CIA. The CIA would never have said where you could get hold of them like that.
It's a ruse. It's a front. There's nothing really there. I mean, Rock Cheetah, what's that? That's not real.
That's just a monitoring.
Follow Rock Cheetah on Twitter, and you'll understand interrogation.
No, do not
follow Rock Cheetah on Twitter.
Do not follow the Rock Cheetah news.
It's coming from Living Color, the fire hose. It's a fire hose.
News fire hose.
Mr. Ed, where can they find more about you and Flip2, sir?
They can find me, they can find Flip2 at flip.to, or if you mistype it, flip2.com. You can find me on anywhere on social, Edward St. Ange, and then find me on this show every week.
Very true. Very true.
Cool,
And
cool.
for this show, it's link notes for the topics we didn't get to. And for all the archives, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live, where you can find out and send us any information that you would like. And if you want to join the show, you can join through that as well. So, Rich, thank you again. Stuart, thank you.
Yes.
Ed, thank you. Robert, thank you all for the time. It's been an awesome conversation. And for everyone that joined us on the chats on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube, thank you. And we will catch everyone for show number 116 next week, next Friday. Till then, thank you.
Thanks all.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Very good. Bye-bye.